whether taking prophetic action to do what is right, or remembering that we ourselves are inseparable from and wonderfully a part of nature. Sacred texts and science together provide a fertile space for us to unite around the changes we must make to ensure that life will flourish for the generations to come. This is no longer a guarantee, and our timeline is short. We are people of faith and deep spiritual practice. Our willingness to come together, to adopt new practices, and to resist those who use their power to do harm instead of good matters. Tonight, we will hear more about the opportunities each of us has in our faith practices and as a greater interfaith community to become the prevailing voice of compassion, action, and healthy transformation. Blessings on this conversation. May we clearly hear and receive our instructions from nature, from the source of life, from the one who is in us and beyond us. May we move together in peace, solidarity, with courage, and great love. We have the good fortune of having a very accomplished moderator for tonight's discussion. Ms. Dia Mirza is a recognized partner standing with us in our efforts to restore nature. She is an award-winning actor, producer, UN Secretary General's advocate for sustainable development goals, the UNEP Goodwill ambassador, an ambassador for the Wildlife Trust of India, artist ambassador for Save the Children, and a board member with the Sanctuary Nature Foundation. Please join me in welcoming Dia Mirza, who will continue with more introductions.
Thank you so much, Lauren, for that kind introduction. Good evening, everyone. Namaste, Sat Sri Akal, Adab, and a very warm welcome to all of you. I feel filled with grace and peace and love in this distinguished presence of all our spiritual leaders, and I'm sure each and every one of you who joined us this evening is going to feel the same amount of peace and love. Tonight's conversation, our panel discussion, is on the inclusive edge, tapping into the faith dimension to accelerate nature actions for a sustainable future. Today, under this Faith for Earth dialogue, it is my honor to gather with eminent faith leaders in India, UNEP, and URI to highlight the successful leadership of faith-based organizations in India by focusing on the nature-based actions that they have undertaken and that provide a momentum to the masses for a strong environmental action. On behalf of UNEP, Ms. Joyce Masuya, UN Assistant Secretary General and Deputy Executive Director, UN Environment Program, who will kickstart this discussion by setting the context, I would now like to formally introduce Ms. Masuya. Ms. Masuya started serving UN Environment as Acting Executive Director since 2018, overseeing the UN Environment Program's portfolio in 33 countries and administering 9 multilateral agreements on critical environmental issues during the period of 2018 and 19. Prior to joining UNEP, she has had 20 years of experience in international development, strategy, knowledge management, and partnerships. Ms. Masuya has been an advisor to the World Bank, Vice President for East Asia and the Pacific region in Washington, D.C., and was the inaugural World Bank Special Representative and head of the World Bank Group Office in the Republic of Korea during the period of 2014 and 17. Without further ado, I would like to call Ms. Joyce Masuya, Deputy Executive Director, to lead us towards this exciting and wonderful discussion.
Thank you very much, Dia. Warm greetings from UNEP to an amazing, distinguished group of spiritual leaders, to the participants, to the moderators. I really want to speak on behalf of UNEP to say we are really honored and humbled to have such spiritual power and capital in this session. As a dear friend of UNEP, Dia, mentioned, this is really a special moment. I'm very much looking forward for the next 90 minutes of interactions. I want to acknowledge the participation of the faith leaders that are with us. His Holiness Radhanath Swami, the respected Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, the respected Sadhguru, Isha Foundation, Sister B.K. Shivani, Reverend Kantipudi Ruben Mark, Dr. Rajwant Singh, Haji Syed Salman Chisti, the respected Gurudev Sri Rakesh Bhai. We are truly honored to have your presence despite what is happening outside us with COVID-19 pandemic and other responsibilities, for you to devote the time to engage with over 300 participants that are connected to this session. Let me also recognize and appreciate Ms. Dia Mirza, UNEP Goodwill Ambassador and UN Secretary General Advocate for Sustainable Development Goals. We thank the partnership we have with the United Religious Initiative and its Executive Director, Reverend Victor Kazanjian, with whom UNEP, just 2 weeks ago, we've signed a global partnership agreement. Special thanks to United Religions Initiative staff of their regional office for Asia, as well as in India. And big thanks to UNEP's office in India, led by Atul Bagai, as well as the leader of the Faith-Based Initiative Program, IAD, who is based in Nairobi. Let me start my remarks by really acknowledging the leadership that India has shown. And by India, I mean the government, but also the spiritual leaders. For somebody who has been a student of India for many, many years, I have admired not only the diversity of the different groups in India, but the depth and the breadth of the spiritual power that the country offers. Within the environment space, India has been not only a great supporter to UNEP, but also a great leader. And I will cite some of the examples. But sharing a personal experience, one of the last trips I had a privilege of undertaking before COVID was actually to India. And I visited Patan, Gujarat, to celebrate and honor the economic and social empowerment achievements in India. I visited the Women of Sewa Bharat Center, a movement of over 1.9 million informal women workers. The experience not only was enriching and inspiring, but especially, we didn't know then, it was an amazing reminder what collective action, even despite the many obstacles, economic, social, poverty, otherwise, the power of collective action can do. I want to congratulate also the government of India and its people for chairing the conference of the parties to the Convention of Conservation of Migratory Species of Wild Animals for 3 years, starting this February. And I was part of the COP, which was held in Gujarat. But these are just some examples. India has also taken great leadership in phasing out single-use plastics, in engaging in the Clean Seas campaign. As we are celebrating the World Clean Air Day, I want to recognize India's work, including communities, on greening the country's railways with over half the network electrified. we are joining India to support this initiative through capacity building. Second point I want to make is around sustainable development goals. At the beginning of this year, our Secretary General reminded all of us that this is the last decade of action on sustainable development goals. The world currently is facing multifaceted challenges of COVID-19 pandemic, its health and socioeconomic impacts, pollution, as well as climate change. It is still in many parts of the world a humanitarian problem, and we stand in solidarity with governments, with people, with communities, with faith leaders that have actually taken leadership in addressing and supporting communities around the pandemic. We are transitioning, we are seeing across the globe to a more sustainable consumption and production practices, but also we recognize there is still more work to be done, particularly on the behavioral change. If we are serious about the sustainable development goals, we will have to speed up our own individual and collective action towards addressing the issues around our own consumption and the choices that we make. Let me remind all of us, the Sustainable Development Goals were adopted by all countries of the world and the Global Agenda 2030. This framework, it is still our best and most inclusive to protect people and the planet. And faith leaders, spiritual leaders are part of these amazing goals in terms of providing support. In this regard, the Sustainable Development Goals were led by the United Nations, but they are for everybody. The stakeholders' engagement, like this session that we are about to begin, is extremely important. This year, the United Nations is celebrating its 75th anniversary. But we are celebrating this amazing milestone with a global campaign to hear from the people across the world about their priorities and aspirations. It is vital that we hear your voice as leaders, but also as part of the community. Your views, concerns, and ideas will be presented to the world leaders and senior UN officials at the official commemoration of the 75th anniversary by the UN General Assembly to be held later this month in New York. After September, groups around the world will discuss how to best take forward the priorities and proposals together that we will generate. I had the pleasure recently of engaging and listening to more than 100 faith leaders from 44 countries. This event, again, organized by our faith-based organization team, liaison team, Iyad and his team, happened just 2 weeks ago. And we got an amazing insights and rich feedback on what the community, the faith-based community, expect and aspire of UNEP. And therefore, our partnership with faith-based organization will continue to contribute to the SDGs and assist to fulfill the ideals and objectives of the 2030 agenda. We launched the Faith for Earth initiative just in 2017, 3 years ago. And this initiative has been cross-cutting, working all over UNEP, but also with different and diverse groups of faith-based organization. And that is continuing to allow UNEP to become a better organization because of our engagement. Many faith-based organizations have long been actively involved in the humanitarian efforts and embedded in the communities. I went to a faith-based boarding school. And the experience not only shaped my value system, but it defined the purpose of the essence of my life. And I cannot forget that experience and the journey that I have taken from there. FBOs, faith-based organizations, already contributed significantly to the development before even we articulated the word development. Compassion, Lauren spoke about compassion, the closeness to the communities, including indigenous communities. So it is an important partnership with UNEP that we not only commit to working with, but we very much appreciate your hard work and your commitment. Faith-based investment corporations and bodies are considered to be the third or fourth largest investment group in the world. In this regard, the organizations have the potential of significantly accelerating and shaping the socially responsible investments, faith-consistent investments, and impact investment movements. So there is also, beyond the community level, enormous influence from the faith-based organizations. So in summary, I want to again thank all the participants, particularly the distinguished spiritual leaders. I'm really looking forward to be a beneficiary of your insights and your leadership. And in UNEP, we are also humbled that 8 of you, 9 of you have actually joined us. And we want to say thank you. All religions contain messages of environmental care and stewardship for a planet that can provide for human flourishing. The translation of this compassion may come from a different angle, different language, different sentiment, but the objective is the same. And I want to thank you for joining hands with us to move the Sustainable Development Goals and Faith for Earth initiative forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that, Joyce. Really appreciate it. It is true that the Sustainable Development Goals are a powerful roadmap and a tool that each and every one of us can use and implement, and our actions can really significantly contribute to the change that we need to see in environmental action and stewardship. We will now be having this discussion in 2 parts. I would like to share with you the fact that the first part is going to last for 25 minutes, and we will be focusing on bringing together faith and environment for a better tomorrow. And the second part would highlight interfaith in action, translating religious values into innovative nature-based solutions. And this session will last for 20 minutes. Faith leaders and faith-based organizations, FBOs, are key and important players to the UN system in relations with eradicating poverty, improving people's health, protecting the environment, and thus achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. Many citizens perceive faith leaders as being trustworthy and highly connected with dynamism and outreach that enables them to operate and achieve practical results where and when they are needed. In the light of this, I would like to introduce our panelists to share their wisdom and thought on bringing together faith and environment for a better tomorrow. We have with us Pujya Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, a humanitarian, spiritual leader, and an ambassador of peace and human values. Through his life and work, Sri Sri Ravi Shankar ji has inspired millions around the world with a vision of a stress-free, violence-free life. The President of India has also bestowed upon him the Padma Vibhushan, the country's highest annual award for exceptional and distinguished service. He is the founder of the Art of Living, which through the Global Volunteer Network has planted over 71 million trees in order to counter the rising dioxin from the burning plastic waste. The organization has expedited the mission of finding more natural alternatives to plastics that are environmentally friendly, sustainable, cost-effective, and convenient. His Holiness Radhanath Swamiji, a New York Times best-selling author and one of the governing body commissioners of ISKCON, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, founded by Srila Prabhupada. He founded Govardhan Eco Village, a UNEP accredited entity which has received various awards, including the United Nations World Tourism Organization Award. His rural development program is contextualizing the Agenda 2030, 5P principles with noticeable impacts. He has also been rated as top 50 most talented sustainability leaders by World CSR program, the World CSR Congress. His projects include schools, emergency relief programs, and a daily food distribution program for over 300,000 children. He has been given audience by ex-US President Barack Obama, former Prime Ministers Tony Blair, David Cameron, and our very own Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji. Pujya Sister Shivani ji has been a practitioner of Raj Yoga meditation of the Brahma Kumaris for over 22 years. Her practical application of spiritual principles on the TV program Awakening with Brahma Kumaris for over 12 years has empowered people to overcome issues of emotional distress, depression, and relationship conflicts. In March 2019, she was awarded the prestigious Nari Shakti Puraskar, the highest civilian honor for women in India, for her role in transforming human behaviors. In order to give a strong impulse towards the development of clean technologies and sustainable society, the Brahma Kumaris World Spiritual University has been actively involved for over 25 years in the research and demonstration of alternative renewable energy concepts. They also promote a plastic-free, sustainable form of living. And then finally in this panel, we will be joined by a video message by Sadhguruji. He's the founder of Isha Foundation, ranked among the 50 most influential people in India. Sadhguruji is a yogi, a mystic, visionary, and a New York Times best-selling author. He has also been conferred the Padma Vibhushan, India's highest annual civilian award. My question to our esteemed panelists is one that I hope will guide everybody with your insight, but also give us the opportunity to present your solutions to world leaders in the near future. I will start with you, Gurudev, Shri Shri Ravi Shankar ji, and then we will go on to Holiness Radha Swami ji, followed by Sister Shivani ji, and then we will go to the video message by Sadhguru ji. So this is the question for all of you. At a global level, we have observed that faith leaders and faith-based organizations have played a pivotal role in bringing peace and harmony around the world. In the present context of India and the environmental urgencies we face in the face of climate change and of course this current pandemic, how do you see the role of religious and cultural values promoting innovative nature-based solutions? Please share your thoughts on the journey of FBOs engaging with environmental urgencies and what needs to be done differently under the present circumstances. Gurudev.
Wonderful. Let me first congratulate all the panelists and the UN for taking up this most pressing need of the society today. Let me begin by reminding all of us that today is the World Suicide Prevention Day, United Nations World Suicide Prevention Day. It's such a sad thing to see that almost 1 million people have lost their life in just this year alone. So why people are getting into this depression or committing suicide, if we go into it, you find that when we are self-centered and we are self-serving, then we end up getting depressed, or we are aggressive, or we are getting depressed. The human energy needs a channel, and this could be the best channel. Environment, working for environment, working for the planet. Instead of thinking, what about me? Let us start thinking about the planet Earth, how we can give a better society to the coming generation, how we can save the planet on these. If an individual is inspired to walk the path of service to society, service to the planet Earth, they would very much, uh, you know, they would be able to get out of this current pandemic situation where the mental health has become a big issue. Today, World Health Organization has said the pandemic may be over, but the mental health issue will continue. It is going to be there for some time. For that, I think we need to guide them, give them a direction to action. And faith can definitely do this job much better than anything else. Faith leaders this today have more responsibility to care for mental health of people, create awareness about sustainable developments. Now, we in Art of Living have undertaken 17 out of 20 Millennium Goals, Sustainable Development Goals. When we ask people to join in rejuvenating river, there is such a huge response. People come together, they want to, participate in doing something bigger than their small little world that they live in. So we could, in this direction, we could rejuvenate 47 rivers, which were just only in the, the revenue records. On the ground, there was no river, no water. So when we could scientifically teach them to do the recharge wells, plant right type of trees so that it can attract birds, it can attract rain, and then it doesn't deplete the groundwater level. I tell you, just in 6 months' time, huge difference happened. Millions of farmers who were starving could get water and could start plowing their land again, start cultivating. Planting tree is something, it's in the very faith in Hinduism. It's everybody is supposed to plant 5 trees a minimum in their lifetime. Big trees, not simply shrubs or plants. So when you remind them of this, see, look, you have to plant the trees, then, it just brings up that energy from within them into action. I think collectively, if all of us work in our own ways and adopt different states in India and other places, the mission Green Earth, which United Nations had started a few years back, when we just gave a call, 36 countries came together to plant trees. We could plant 86 million trees. Little correction in the number. 86 million. I mean, in 2 months' time, can you imagine the power of people when they come together with a mission? Nothing is impossible. One good thing that COVID has done is it has allowed nature to rejuvenate herself. You find waters in the rivers are getting much purer, and we have seen the dolphins have appeared in Mumbai shores. So this and Bangalore weather, which was never this good in last 50 years, have returned back to the same weather. my one suggestion here would be United Nations should appeal to all the countries in the world to have a planned lockdown for 1 week when all the countries stop flying the flights and we stop everything, but well planned. 1 week of lockdown can allow the nature to rejuvenate herself. The birds, sparrows are being spotted in Delhi. Air has become so cleaner. Our consumerism in some way has robbed us of the beauty of nature, the natural diversity that we have been enjoying. So we may have to think on these big lines other than, of course, promoting people to be more um, aware of plastic, use of plastics, and taking care of cleanliness. So we have done thousands of cleanliness drives around the country and thousands of water body rejuvenation. Whenever you find some water body, when people are not aware, they're not so conscious, so they use it as a garbage dump. And when rain comes, that garbage dump plus waters, and then number of diseases come from that. Malaria, typhoid, and all that because of these unattended and clean water bodies. So it is very pertinent for us to also look in local levels, as our Prime Minister has recently given a call to Atmanirbhar, self-reliant villages. I think with the environment also, we need to attend to the self-reliance, making every village or every district, um, they have clean and they have enough water to sustain for the entire population. Water, clean air, and good behavior in society. This is important. If people are not in right state of mind, they can destroy our environment. However clean you do it, some people may be working for it. There will be others who will come and destroy or undo all that you have done. So we need to create an awareness, and faith leaders can definitely inspire people, because faith is such a thing that when it motivates someone, um, it becomes an inspiration. It stays with them for their life. Other motivations stay for short period, but something that comes with the faith that stays with them like an inspiration for times to come. With these words, I would say that we should think about it. The faith leaders and the United Nations should suggest, even after the pandemic, a week of lockdown. In Bali, in a small island of Bali, they observe Silence Day on one day in May, the month of May. On that day, nobody speaks and no transportation flies. The entire the entire island comes to standstill. Why not we learn something like this, or do something like this for the whole world, where people stay indoors, they will bond with their own family, they can do all those things which they have been putting under the carpet or been postponing, and they can do, they can um, do more prayers and learn skills, learn languages, learn music. I mean, number of things they can do, but we need to uh, promote this and help people to have that vision, a vision in which they see for centuries to come how our planet can be sustained. And our younger generation, especially, that they know that they need to care for environment as much as they care for themselves. So with these few
Thank
words,
you so much for that, Gurudev. Thank you so much. You're right. I think well-being, physical, mental, economic, is only possible when our environment is healthy and we can all work collectively in the service of environment, because there is no greater service. And to do it with faith is what will define the path for all of us and keep us connected in this shared journey on this shared home, the only planet we can call our home. I would now like to request Holiness Radhanath Swamiji to please share his insights with us. You need to unmute yourself, Holiness. Thank you.
Om Mukyantimidandasya Gyananjana Chalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. I am sincerely honored and so very grateful and happy to have been invited to participate in this very essential and auspicious gathering. Thank you, Shri Ravi Shankarji, Sister Shivani ji, and Dia and Joyce for giving me a chance to be with you, and to everyone.
We seem to have lost connection with Holiness Radhanath Swamiji. So I would request Sister Shivani ji to kindly speak now, and then we will go back to Swamiji once we've heard from you. Namaste.
Om Shanti. Greetings of peace from the family of the Brahma Kumaris. Dia, like you shared in your question very beautifully, what is it different that we are going to do for nature? There's a connection between the nature outside and the nature inside. Environment gets influenced by our emotions. And so to create something different outside, we also need to begin with creating something different inside. Our way of thinking, our way of speaking, our way of behaving, our every thought vibrates and influences nature outside, influences the vegetation, the water, the vibrations of the environment, the vibrations of the air are influenced by how we think. And yet today, globally as a family, we've labeled disturbing emotions like stress, anger, anxiety, worry and fear as normal. And so it's really very important, especially in the current time when everybody is talking about the new normal. It's really so important for the whole world to create a new normal of what is right in the way of thinking. Stress, fear, anxiety, worry, jealousy, competition. This is not normal. This is an emotional illness. This is not emotional stability. So together, let's create that new normal in our inner nature, a normal of happiness, calm, cooperation, empathy, love, compassion. When we create that shift in our nature inside, then the vibrations we will radiate to the planet, the world will change. Our mind is a part of the global consciousness. The vibration of the planet, my individual mind, is influencing the vibration of the planet. Even in the last 4 months, collectively we said fear and anxiety is normal, and we lowered the vibration of the planet. The world needs healing energy. At the Brahma Kumaris, we've experimented with meditating in the farms, meditating with water, and we've seen amazing results to see what happens with the fruits, the flowers, the plants, the grains, the color, the taste, the produce, and of course it's all organic. But it's not just organic, it's high vibrational. So that's how we understand how our emotions affect the environment. So our intention to create a change in nature will be incomplete unless we start with the shift in our nature inside. Like we're all creating no plastic zones. So we say our organization, our house, our city is no plastic. Similarly, we can make it a no anger zone, that our organization, our company, our school, our college, our city, our country, our world, we use respect and dignity in our communication. Anger, aggression, criticism, no to it. Let's say no to it collectively, and we'll be able to change the world. Everything outside in nature will vibrate differently if we eradicate anger from our minds, terrors from our minds. We will eradicate it from the planet. And when that vibration is high, then the contentment in every soul, the happiness, life will change. Life will change because our happiness will not be dependent on consuming more. Contentment directly takes us towards simplicity. And so daily spiritual practice and meditation creates happiness and contentment. And that creates simplicity in our life. 21 days from today is the World Vegetarian Day. So for those of us who are not practicing it, let's take it up as a 21 days. Just a 21 days. That 21 days we will lead a strict vegetarian lifestyle and we will be making a huge contribution to the planet. Very simple to do, but huge impact on the world. So let's begin with the nature inside. Let's all together meditate for at least 5 minutes every day. If we pray and we meditate together as a family, together as an institution, if we do it together, then those collective high vibration words will change the air, water, and the nature on the planet. So when we're doing it together, then the impact of the collective vibrations, we still have to experience that. But unaware, we are radiating collective lower vibrations. So a change, yes, but a change also in our way of thinking, speaking, and behaving. Our language, our vocabulary needs to be a high vibration vocabulary. Our thoughts, pure, clean, powerful. And that's when everyone will be happy and united, contented, leading simple lives, and radiating compassion to the planet. So let's create no anger zones. We will vibrate the planet with respect and dignity and shift to a vegetarian lifestyle, beginning with the next 21 days. And I'm sure 21 days will make it a way of living for all of us. Thank you so much. Om Shanti.
Thank you so much for that, Sister Shivani ji. I think it's very, very true that the kind of vibrations we emit affects all lives around us because we are connected. Thank you so much for that. I'm just going to check if His Holiness Radhanath Swami ji has been able to join us and whether the connectivity is sorted. Radhanath ji, His Holiness, please go ahead. I'm so sorry we got disrupted by the connectivity, but you can take over now. Thank you so much.
We can see how important connective. Can you hear?
Yeah, I must clarify internet connectivity, not the others.
Well, we can understand how connectivity is so essential in our lives in order to properly communicate. At the very heart of true spirituality or dharma is to reconnect with the love, the spiritual love for God that is within our hearts, and to express that love by living with compassion. A compassionate lifestyle is inseparable from our interaction with the environment, because everyone is equally dependent on the gifts of nature. From a spiritual perspective, there is such a deep understanding of this idea. Example, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells, Bhoktaram yagyatapasam sarva loka maheshwaram suhridam sarva bhutanam gyatva mam shantim richchati. That the entire creation, all the resources around us are sacred, and that all living beings are children of the same source. We are all truly brothers and sisters. When we have this appreciation, then we no longer consider, either individually or collectively, that we have a right to exploit, but rather we're caretakers of sacred property, because all life in all of its forms are sacred. This spiritual principle really is foundational to self-realization or spirituality. In the world we're living, due to a disconnection to this truth, there's so much exploitation, even among innocent people, because so many people just do not understand. The idea of yoga, of religion, of spirituality is harmony. To create harmony with our body, our mind, our hearts, and the very living force within us, our souls. And in that harmony, we find harmony with nature, with all living beings, and with God. And when that disharmony is there, then there is a diseased condition. When the ecology of the human heart is polluted, it will naturally pollute the resources of Mother Nature. And when the ecology of the human heart is cleansed in its natural state, then we're truly empowered to restore the natural state of the environment around us. My beloved spiritual teacher, Srila Prabhupada, he inspired this Govardhan eco-village that's based on a principle of simple living and high thinking. The idea that in order to educate and inspire individual people and corporations and businesses and educational institutions and governments, we need to provide exemplary lifestyles and models that present alternatives. So Govardhan Eco Village, we're trying to do this through PhD scholars from American universities combined with simple villagers of Maharashtra, industrialists and monks. Everyone is combining with appreciation with what we could all do together. And, through this, through water harvesting, through natural sewage refining, through building all of our structures with natural ingredients, through planting trees and organic farming, through converting plastic into usable oil without any pollution. These are just a few of the ways that we're demonstrating the beauty and the joy of living in harmony with nature and each other. And we're trying to share whatever gifts we're receiving with thousands and thousands of people in hundreds of villages. And we find people coming from all over India, and universities and environmentalists and other thoughtful people coming from around the world, just to explore how living a responsible, sustainable lifestyle is practical and it's possible for each of us individually and collectively. And this is something that faith-based organizations, spiritual leaders and followers can all be united on. We all have, during this time of great necessity, a responsibility to share with each other and with the world exemplary, practical ways in which we could actually live in harmony and in peace. Gratitude, respect is foundational to build these relationships. And it is true. The more we find unity in the cause that we have in common, the more we will find beauty and appreciation in all of our diversity. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much for that insight. I think we will all agree that we would treat our resources, our natural resources, with a lot more empathy, respect, gratitude, and compassion if we understood how deeply connected our lives are with all living beings and all our natural resources. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to end this panel with a video message from Sadhguruji, and I request our MC to help us with that, please.
Namaskaram. My greetings to all at United Nations Environment Program for this assembly in India. Well, when we say environment, people are thinking it is an academic subject. It's important to know there is no such thing as environment, we are the environment. The separation of what is me and what is the world is the biggest problem. The fundamental of the yogic sciences is just this, that yoga means union, that in your experience, you experience everything as myself. As we stand here, we breathe. What I exhale, the trees are inhaling. What the tree exhales, I am inhaling. So, literally one half of my lung is hanging out there in the tree. It's not just about respiration, in every other way, we are a part of this. The very body that we carry is not different from the soil that we walk upon. Will we get it now or will we get it when we are buried in the earth is a question of choice. If we get it now, then every human being will become a natural part of supporting and nurturing the environment around us, because it will be part of ourselves. Keeping it well will be a natural process. When we say environment and the problems of environment, people are talking about pollution, air pollution, water pollution, soil degradation, many subjects. But we need to understand there's only one problem, that is the human being. If there were no human beings on this planet, there's really no environmental problem. So we are the only problem we have. So when this is the case, if leaders in the world, of whatever nature they are, If leaders in the world who have connect with the people do not become part of this movement, there is no real solution. So it's very important, all those leaders who have connect with masses of people must participate in this process of rejuvenating the life on this planet. Let us understand rejuvenating life does not mean just us, every other life, because without these microbes, these worms, these insects, birds, animals, trees, we cannot exist. At least now, if not of our own realization, at least because of environmental sciences, now you have begun to understand that you cannot survive without other life. They can survive without us, but we cannot survive without them. So, everyone who has large connect with people must participate in these moments. It is very important that we bring in those people. It doesn't matter what complexion or creed they are, it is important to bring them together. This fundamental idea that has been spread in this world, that every other life is here to serve us, must go. We must understand every life, from an insect to worm to an ant to an elephant, every one of them have their own full-fledged life and they have a right to live. They are not here to serve us. As we have a life, they have a life. The moment we realize that, environment definitely not under threat.
Thank you so much for that, Sadhguru. I think this has been a truly insightful conversation. I'm sure everybody who's been listening in will be enriched by the simple and basic thought that every spiritual leader has shared with us in this panel, that all life on earth is connected. How we respond and care for our natural environment will determine not just how the environment flourishes, but how our lives, our human lives, will flourish. I'm going to now start the conversation and thank, of course, all our panelists in this first part of this conversation, for their insights. And I would now like to start the second conversation. The approach of the UNEP with all the faith-based organizations encourages the integration of religious and cultural values to ensure an inclusive and green and transformative development through adopting value faith-based lifestyles and behaviors. A lot of these have been indicated by our panelists in the first session. And UNEP strongly believes that this integrated approach, coupled with cultural and religious values, can promote innovative nature-based solutions, respect for traditional knowledge and cultural diversity, and exercise environmental stewardship. And of course, most importantly, the duty of care and compassion. It is within this background that we would like to introduce you to the panelists for the second part of this dialogue on how can interfaith actions help translate religious values into innovative nature-based solutions. For this session, we have a distinguished group of panelists, starting with Atmarpit Nemiji, who is representing Pujya Gurudev Shri Rakesh Bhai from the ancient Jain religion. Nemiji is a part of the strategic group of trustees of the Srimad Rajchandra Love and Care Mission established by Guruji. The mission recently led the initiatives for COVID relief work with over 2,000 volunteers participating. The work received praise from various institutes and state governments and was awarded the Special COVID-19 Relief Initiative Award by the CSR Health Impact Awards. The mission has 6 main environmental goals: awareness on environmental care, recycling waste, eco-paper drive, water conservation, alternate energy program, and tree plantations. Then we have joining us Haji Syed Salman Chishti ji. He is the 26th generation Gaddi Nashin, the hereditary custodian and key holder of the present family of Gaddi Nashins who have existed for the past 800 years. His Chishti family has been engaged in serving the globally famed, acknowledged and renowned Center of Peace and Unity. His passion and deep longing towards the mystic world of Sufis and spiritual cultures of the world has enabled him to travel across various destinations globally, through which he has gained vast wisdom and experience. We're also joined by Dr. Rajwant Singh Ji. He is the co-founder and the senior advisor to the National Sikh Campaign, a major media initiative to educate Americans about Sikhs and Sikhism. Dr. Rajwant Singh Ji is also the founder and the president of Eco-Sikhs, a response from the Sikh community to the threats of climate change and the deterioration of the environment. Eco-Sikhs has recently launched a massive drive to plant 1 million trees around the world in celebration of the 550th birth anniversary of Guru Nanak Ji, the founder of Sikhism. Dr. Singh has worked with 3 different presidents, President Clinton, Bush, and Obama, and their respective administrations on various faith-based social justice and environmental issues. Reverend Kantipuri Ji Ruben Mark, he hails from the Nalgonda district in Telangana state. He's currently serving as a bishop in church at the Church of South India, Diocese of Karimnagar, and as a deputy moderator of the Church of South India. The Church of South India Synod Department of Ecology Concerns has published a green protocol for the church and is hopeful that the participants will acquire the needed knowledge to implement this across India. The protocol discusses issues of water conservation, renewable energy, waste management, beating plastic pollution, afforestation, among other environmental challenges. Welcome to this distinguished panel, and I request each of you to speak. I will like to start this session with Atmarpit Nemi ji, and the question to each of you is, to achieve the 2030 Agenda and the Sustainable Development Goals, it is imperative to particularly promote sustainable patterns of consumption and production. In the light of the current situation in India and the world, please share some of the noteworthy nature-based practices and solutions that you are undertaking. And I would also request our participants to kindly restrict their comments to 3 to 5 minutes. Thank you so much. We will start with Atmarpit ji.
Thank you so much, Dia. So unfortunately, they are experiencing heavy rains at this point in time. So he wouldn't be possible to, he will not be able to join us live. However, they very quickly, I think, adjusted to this issue and problem, and they've recorded a video message for us. And so I'll just play that for the audience.
Thank you, Surbi. Thank you.
Pujya Gurudev Shri has taught us that true change is in the transformation of ideas and beliefs, and not just in the mere change of activities. And as beliefs deepen, they manifest naturally outside as action. Thus, to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, it is imperative for them to trickle down into daily life, into the very beliefs and ideas of nations and peoples first. In the daily culture of Srimad Rajendra Mission Dharampur, the environment has always been a non-negotiable part of all decision making. Whether it is a child who will refuse to hurt even a flower or a leaf because it lives just like you and me, or the adults who will avoid walking even on grass, this culture of compassion is woven into the mindsets of people. It will thus manifest in different ways across the work of the mission. Environmental care is an independently running department of the social service wing of the mission, Srimad Rajchandra Love and Care, where we have numerous projects constantly running. But if this care for nature becomes part of your nature, it will manifest everywhere in all our activities. It is no surprise that even in the design and conceptualization of the 223-acre spiritual township, our ashram home in Dharampur, under Pujya Gurudev Shri's guidance and direction, We have numerous environmental solutions and even innovations implemented that have been praised globally. It has always been Pujya Gurudev Shri's directive that the noble ones always give back more than they take, even from the land and the surroundings. Besides rainwater harvesting and the use of solar energy for not only the ashram space but the adjoining schools and colleges also, the ashram will soon be feeding energy back into the state grid. As per Pujya Gurudev Shri's directive of creating near zero waste, there has been intense local innovation. We created a local recycling facility here itself to reuse the excavated soil and sand into the construction of the ashram itself. Due to this, there was also a considerable reduction in consumption of construction and building material. There are many such initiatives, whether it is segregation of waste or sewage treatment through SBT, which is a soil biotechnology for treating and reusing sewage water for landscaping, through which we potentially save up to 37 crore liters of water per year. When we had acquired our ashram land in 2000, it was barren due to deforestation over many years. Today, through our afforestation program, we have revived the land and the green cover is lush and the soil renewed. Since the coming of Pujya Gurudev Shri to this land, there has been a massive shift in its very topography. And it is predicted that in a few years, the mean temperature of the land will also decrease by 2 to 3 degrees. This is no small matter for the welfare of the people of the land. No matter how small or big, these are all mere manifestations. Simple choices made daily, but the real power at its root lies in faith and culture that creates lifestyles. Sustainable development can only happen on the strong bedrock of faith and an ever-expanding ahimsa, which is compassion, where caring for nature actually becomes your nature. And the greater your love, the further your care and compassion will reach. And your lifestyle itself will then become one where you always give back more than you take. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. It is true that it's always the noble ones that give back more than they can take. We would now like to hear from Haji Syed Salman Chishti ji, please.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Greeting of peace, salam, and adab. As-salatu salam alayka ya Sayyid al-Mursaleen wa rahmatan lil alameen. We extend our greetings, encouragements, prayers, and thankfulness to all who created this platform of UNEP. And today that we are observing an important aspect of our own existence into the planet Earth. In Quranic verses of chapter number 40, verses number 56, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has clearly mentioned the creation of heavens and earth is far greater than the creation of mankind, but most of mankind do not know it. Another important verses which reflect and give us an understanding of al-mizan, the balance of creation, is chapter number 54 and verses number 49. The Quran itself emphasis on this, but also constitute a part of reason for existence of creatures upon earth, because everything God creates reflects His holiness. Verily, all things that we have created with measures, al-mizan. Today, we have learned so many things during the past 6 months, despite of this unprecedented pandemic. The importance of honoring and serving the creation. Our spiritual elders who have talked about God consciousness, to us, we should always remind us that being God consciousness is equal to the creator consciousness, as God is this ultimate and divine creator. When we are creator consciousness, It is incumbent, it is a farz, it is an utmost sincere duty upon all of us to be creation conscious, to be aware of the creation and our holy obligation towards the creation. As one of the teachings of Hazrat Khaja Moinuddin Chishti, who is known as Gharib Nawaz, the patron saint of Itme Sharif, he said, if one wants to get close to the Creator, be in service to the creation. Of course, our prayers, our meditations, our beads, our fastings are important, but that is not for the Creator. That is for our own self to experience our meditative practices and everything that we do as prayers. It's to experience a closeness, qurbat-e-haq, closeness to the divine truth. But ultimate way of serving the Creator is to be in service towards the creation. When we become creation conscious, this feeling of serving the creation comes as part of serving the Creator. It is equally important to learn and also to understand the sustainability of our existence. As one of the hadiths of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ has clearly mentioned, that one of the Sahaba, one of the companions asked that even if we are standing by a running stream of river, do not waste any water. It doesn't matter that there is a scarcity of water, then we become conscious about preserving it. Even if you are standing by a running stream, be conscious of not wasting a drop of water towards it. And looking after the environment, taking care is essential. One of the very emotional story I would like to share, because I know there's limited time, but so many things from the faith perspective that we can imbibe and learn in our daily life, which can reflect on our way of life. And actually, we will be part of the sustainable action towards nature and environment. The Prophet ﷺ was so conscious that before, when he was in Medina and he used to give his teachings and discourses under a tree, when there was no establishment of a mosque there. So after some time, the community developed a hut where all Muslims started praying. And when Prophet, peace be upon him, ﷺ, went to started giving his teaching into that wooden mosque, the first mosque in Medina, in the night, the Prophet used to hear a sobbing sound. And when he looked out, he could hear that the sobbing sound of the tree, where he used to give those teachings. So he went and hugged the tree and connected to the tree in such a sublime manner that when the tree started missing the teaching, he actually went and hugged the tree. So this is how sensitive and conscious we should be to hear the communication that the environment, the creation is doing with us every moment of our existence. There is a clear line of communication, although beyond the words, but it is feeling that connects us to our creation more than the spoken words. But at the platforms like UN and all the spiritual leaders here, we truly acknowledge dear Mirza Sahiba's work to Wildlife Trust of India, and a great example of being an ambassador of serving and experiencing actually those feelings from elephants. I've seen her work, wonderful work that she's been doing and creating awareness towards those. So we pray that that such kind of language, which is not just by words but by expression and feeling, is developed around our communities, and I think that will be a great service. As our sister Shibani, she talked about the upcoming World Vegetarian Day, and we really appreciate her initiative. That I would like to share that in Dargah Ajmer Sharif, the langar that has been served not from last 800 years, the meal is purely vegetarian. It is so to keep the essence of people from all faith visiting the Dargah Ajmer Sharif, nobody should feel within their heart that they cannot connect fully to the presence of the sacred meal in the Dargah Ajmer Sharif. Not even onion and garlic is used, so that our Jain brothers and sisters can come and sit together on the table spread to share the blessing. So these are the spiritual traditions in the sacred spaces across India and around the world where they were conscious to the human heart. क्योंकि ये जगह ऐसी होती है जहाँ ख्यालों का भी ख्याल रखा जाता है, that even a thought that comes to your heart is taken care of. And this is what is required today in the 21st century, that we have to take care of those thoughts, those feelings, not only for us human family, but also entire part of our creation family when we become the conscious toward the creation. I would like to conclude with just one of the important message from Khaja Moinuddin Chishti, who has asked us that if one wants to be close to the Creator, develop 3 attributes of nature in your being. What are these 3 attributes of nature? Sun-like grace, river-like generosity, and earth-like hospitality. Because these 3 sacred aspects of a creation never make any distinction or differences upon whom they are serving. This is how we have to start learning from the nature, from the environment that is around us. It is a great teacher to us. It's a great peer or a murshid or a spiritual teacher that we can look and imbibe those teachings. This is our words from Ajmer Sharif with lots of duas and blessings. Inshallah, we look forward to continue this conversation, not only a specific day, but every day of our life, even without words, by experiencing and feeling the nature within us. Assalamu alaikum, greeting of peace, adab, namaste, and satrikal to all of you. Lots of spiritual power to all of you. May the Creator elevate your spiritual strength, your spiritual light, that becomes the guiding source, not only for yourself, your immediate neighbors, your family, but all of our society from Mashriq to Maghrib, from the east to the west.
Thank you so much, Haji Saab. That was very, very insightful. And I think we will all agree that we do not have to wait for scarcity to become more considerate about saving resources and using our resources with compassion and respect. We would now like to end this panel, close this panel with remarks from Reverend Kantipudi Ruben Mark Ji. Kindly, we wait for you to conclude this panel, sir.
Dia, we still have Dr. Rajwant Singh who would be speaking.
Of course. Sorry. I'm very sorry for that. Dr. Rajwant Singh Ji, and after that we will have Reverend Kantipudi Ji as to conclude with his remarks.
Hello, everyone. Greetings. This is Rajwant Singh. There were some technical issues going on. I'm not able to join via video. Is everybody able to hear me?
Yes, we are. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you so much for, we feel extremely honored by participating in this such an amazing panel, and really those who have made a big difference in the faith communities across India and South Asia and throughout the world. The EcoSikh is the 10-year-old organization. We came into an existence when the Copenhagen Climate Summit was almost became a disaster. And Ban Ki-moon, United Nations Secretary General, made a call to all world religions that we all need to step up. So the Sikh community devised a plan that how should we engage the Sikh community and form bridges with other faith communities to save Mother Earth, because this is our common home. This is the only place we have, and this is the only place for our future generation. So that is why EcoSikh has formed a sort of a plan. And one of the first things which we did was to start a celebration of World Sikh Environment Day, when we, on March 14th, we have sort of engaged the Sikh community across the world, and particularly in India, to celebrate March 14th, which is an enthronement day of the 7th Sikh Guru, who in the 16th, 17th century was perhaps the first one to talk about wildlife refuge and started plantation of herbal gardens in northern India. And there's a tale that even the Emperor Shah Jahan's son was treated by herbs brought from his gardens. So we felt that we need to raise up an icon which can inspire generations, that we have the resources. India has been always in the forefront of preaching that the nature and humans are all one. But somehow we have been overtaken by this whole drive to call ourselves more modern, and we have adopted certain unsustainable practices. So this is why we wanted to kind of take the community back to our roots. And so March 14th is celebrated, and we are very glad to report that 5,000 Sikh gurudwaras and institutions across the world have celebrated this day by taking 7 different ways of actions to save Mother Earth, whether it's talking about the water issues, the energy and the nature walk and seminars, or even having a green service like green prayer service, so that when the children come, they hear the same message that it's important to care for nature. So that has become a very successful initiative. And the second one we launched was that Guru Nanak, the founder of the Sikh faith, whose birth anniversary was to be celebrated last year in 2019. So in 2018, we launched a campaign to plant 1 million trees in celebration of Guru Nanak's birthday, rather than just focusing on the outer celebration or singing or having a communal meal. We wanted to do something impactful and which will benefit everyone, because Guru Nanak's philosophy was always that one must serve the Vaheguru or the Creator by serving nature and serving especially those who need help. And one of the hymns is the foundation of the Sikh faith. It's called Pavan Guru Pani Pita Mata Tart Mahat. Every morning, every afternoon, every night, Sikhs are reciting these hymns. So we felt that here is a founder of our faith, a great spiritual giant of South Asia, who brought Hindus and Muslims and various communities to come together for dialogue and to see how we can all live together in harmony and see each other as brothers and sisters. So why not we celebrate his day by planting trees? So with God's grace, things started, and we had already planted almost 75,000 trees by end of 2018. And then we certainly came across an amazing methodology called Miyawaki technique of planting trees. So we adopted that in February of 2019. And I want to give you a few details of this very shortly, very quickly, because I think it is a solution for a lot of issues that we are all talking about. So what we do is we plant 550 trees in dedication to Guru Nanak, 550th anniversary. We plant 550 trees in a 200 square meter land. And we in this technology, you have to plant multiple species of trees together, and especially those species who are native species. So what is happening is that we start drives of tree plantation, but few only know which trees to be planted and which trees are really beneficial to the native land. So we did the research and we found out that there are species, especially in northern India and Gujarat and Maharashtra and Rajasthan and Jammu, Kashmir. What are the different species that need to be planted? And we have been able to come up with a list of 45 to 50 different species of trees which have been almost disappeared. So I am happy to report that we have now a collection of seeds of these almost endangered species which are already wiped out in most of the South Asian region. So now we are planting these trees. So going back to the technology, when you plant these trees together in only 200 square meters, so just imagine if you were to plant, let's say up to now we have planted 100,000 trees. If you were to plant these 90,000 to 100,000 trees in any area, you will need massive amount of land. And what scientists are saying that in the next 30 years, if we don't plant trillion trees or maybe trillions of trees, we don't have a chance of surviving. And we only have a window of opportunity of 10, 20, 30 years. That's why this SDG is so critically important. So what we have discovered is when you plant these trees, you can plant enough trees in one small area, and you don't need massive land. And if you were to plant 90,000 trees, you need 120 acres. Whereas if you plant with the Miyawaki technology, the Guru Nanak Sacred Forest, that Eco6 planting, we could plant similar amount of trees in 1/30th of the land. So anywhere in school, colleges, mandir, churches, synagogues, mosques, anywhere if you have a small piece of land, you can plant a forest. And what does this forest do? Just imagine, I mean, what we have, the plants, the trees that we have already planted, 170 forests in India, close to 100 forests in Punjab, rest of them are Gujarat, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, Haryana, and Jammu. And all these forests, I'm happy to report, 90% of these trees are surviving, they are thriving, they are enriching the soil, and they are lifting up the water table. And the greatest thing that I want to share with you all is, just as we are having to preach all humans that we can all live together, but rarely we do. We start fighting with over small issues about the religious practices, about the political issues, about the land, but when we study these forests, the one which we have planted, what we are discovering is these trees underneath and the ground, each tree is embracing the other tree, the roots, and they are sharing. One tree gives out nitrogen, the other trees gives out certain other mineral, and they are supporting each other, and that's the reason why these trees are surviving. So we have such a great lesson to learn from nature and these forests that we can all plant and make this our earth livable. And what we have discovered is that these trees, they grow 10 times faster in this methodology. They are 30% denser, because if you were to plant, let's say, 100 trees in any area, you would need a lot of land, and then you would need a lot of time and effort and resources to sustain them. And then the more hard work you will have to do to make them. And what we have discovered, most of the plantations which are being done by either any organization or any groups, unless there's a lot of resources are put in, most of these trees die. So, but in this case, in this Miyawaki technology, 90% or 95% of the trees are surviving, and they are 30% more dense. They give 30% more oxygen, and they are 30 times more carbon sequestering. They are capturing more carbon. And the calculation that we have come up with is that with this 170 forests, in next 30 years, we will be able to sequester 1,088,623 million tons of carbon. So just imagine, with a small effort of 100,000 trees, we are able to make such a big difference. So my appeal to everyone who is part of this panel and part of this whole discussion, we would welcome to partner with any organization, any group, any faith community. We can all work together. We can do this. And the good thing is that we have 25 forest makers who are trained, fully trained. They can work with any faith community, any church, any mosque, any synagogue. And we are ready to work with everyone, because this, what Guru Nanak has already talked about, बोलने से कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता. अगर एक्शन नहीं करना, so बातें तो बहुत सब करते हैं. So unless we take action, and Guru always said, man bach kram, your mind, your what you say, and your action, they all need to all align. If they're not aligned, then it's all hallucination and it's all just a preaching stuff. So we all need to go from this meeting by taking concrete actions to make sure that we are able to, at least from South Asia, where the 4 great religions came into being, Hinduism, Jainism, Buddhism, and Sikhism, and which also embraced Islam and Christianity. It is the greatest land which can be a role model for the entire world, that we can all work together and save this earth. If India and South Asia can be shown as an example, that here's a a land which worked and, which sort of preaches so much spirituality, we should be able to show that we can also do things practically. So I want to thank each one of you for giving us the opportunity. And we want to work with everyone. And Guru Nanak's message is, Ek Pita Ekas Ke Hum Barak. We have only one parent. We are all his children. And we can make things happen. And Earth is our only mother. And we need to make sure that we pass it on to our future generations in the way as we got, and actually in a better form. So thank you so much. May God bless you. ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧਾਈ ਇਸ ਗੱਲ ਦੀ ਤੇ ਸਤਿ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ। may ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ bless ਕਰੇ ਜੀ। Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rajwant Singh ji. I'm sure we all agree that there is great power in collaboration and partnership, and there is greater power in demonstrating through action the choices that we make. And I hope we keep planting change by planting trees, as you have so beautifully demonstrated. We would like this session to be concluded with Reverend Kantipuri Ruben Mark ji. Please take over. Thank you. Reverend, you need to unmute yourself.
Shalom to my dear brothers and sisters. And outrightly, I would like to say hearty thanks to UN Environmental Program organizers for paving such a wonderful privilege to me to be with the faith leaders of this great nation. As I strongly believe, nature-based practices, solutions we undertake with an understanding that nature is a gift given by God. And whatever is given by God, it is the best which God gives us. God never gives us good better, but always God gives us the best. So God has given us the best as a gift, and that's the nature. And because God has given it to us, today the Church of South India, the biggest Protestant church in India, makes everybody to see God's glory in the nature. We try to see glory of God in people only. But the church today is driving people to see God's abundant glory in the nature too. Because it is God who created this nature, and he saw that it was good, and because he saw it was good, he thought he should give it to humanity. And God has given us. So our commitment is people to love God, to love nature, and to love people. In order to make people to really love God, we drive the people to understand, to love nature also. That's the reason why we are going to release a lovely book. We talk about God as God of compassion, God of mercy, God of grace, God of kindness. But very shortly, we are going to bring out a book, The Green God of the Bible. So this is the new title that we are giving, Church of South India is giving to God. We have seen great people giving, King David in the Bible gave to God the good shepherd. The Lord is my shepherd. But today the Church of South India is giving God a green God. And your friends, it's the Church of South India that has taught to the Indian church and to the people of various faiths to interpret the scriptures from the ecological point of view. The parables, the Psalms, we try to interpret the scriptures, because earlier we used to interpret the scriptures from the eyes of women. We used to interpret the scriptures from the eyes of the Dalits. But today, we have committed our church to interpret the scriptures from the ecological point of view. If you talk about the sermons the church is preaching, we preach different kinds of sermons. We have wedding sermons, we have doctrinal sermons, we have sermons on women. But now, as on today, every day we are trying to send by virtual thing. We are sending green sermons now. We are preaching, every bishop is preaching green sermons now. And that is now very much alive. And if you talk about the schools, way back we used to call them mission schools. But now the Church of South India has committed and has given names green schools now. We have really shifted the terminology of our schools also. The names of our schools, we call them as green schools now. Because this is how we are making every effort to drive every person, right from the child to the senior citizen, to fall in love with nature. Falling in love with God is falling in love with nature. And charity begins at home. So with that concept, we always make the church, people plant many plants in the church. And we try to make people to take care that plant as his plant of his family. And whenever he comes to the church premises, we motivate them to come and plant that plant which he has planted or which he or she has planted in the church. So when this begins from church, we do not say it ends here, but we say it has to go into your home. It has to go into your village and into your town. And apart from that, we are promoting churches not for generators, but you are promoting churches to have solar panels, which would really be a great blessing to the nature. So we use solar panels now. And we try to encourage every family to have solar panels on their houses rather than inverters. And we have an awareness programs periodically, right from the remote village, forest places to the most cosmopolitan cities about the ecological concerns. We try to say, don't use plastics, but now we stopped saying, but we started giving people cotton bags or jute bags. In our conferences or any seminars, workshops, we give definitely a cotton bag and we tell them this bag should be used, every day in your daily life too. When you go to market, carry this. So we don't say don't use plastic bags. They have heard enough, but we need to help them out. How to really get rid of those plastics. So we are now using cotton bags and jute bags at every meeting and in every church, distributing them to see that they use this. And not only that, just yesterday I took over a church, a diocese. I became another diocese bishop also. So when they wanted to garland me and shawl me and do all that, I said nothing of that sort. And this is the practice in my diocese, in my churches. Instead of that, I promote people to give plants, even not just for me, but for any birthdays, for wedding anniversaries, or any kind of celebrations. Give plants, saplings to people so that they can go and in turn plant them in the church, in their gardens, or anywhere. This is how we are trying to finally, what I would like to say is, I always promote people, at least in a month, come one Sunday in a public transport. Don't come in your cars. Don't use your cars. Don't use your motorcycles. At least one Sunday, come in a public transport or use a bicycle. And not only to church, at least one day in a month, go to your working place by your public transport or on your cycle. rather than using your car or a motorcycle. So these are some of the things. I know we are running short of time, but here I end. God bless you all.
Thank you so much, Reverend Mark. Thank you so much. I think we will all agree that all our spiritual leaders have emphasized the power of choice, the power of individual choice, and the power of understanding that all life on earth is connected, and how we treat the environment, how we treat nature is a reflection of how we in fact treat ourselves. And in order to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, we truly hope and believe that your leadership and your voice will help many more people make better choices in their patterns of consumption and in their lifestyles, and we will continue to grow and build a more sustainable future for all life on earth, for people and for planet. Thank you to each and every one of you for your grace and your generosity and your time. We truly appreciate it. Thank you so much.
We will have just a very brief set of closing remarks. And before we go there, I would ask you all to join me in thanking Ms. Mirza. Dia, thank you for your continued dedication, your support, your cooperation, and for your moderating tonight. Thank you. Our closing remarks will be offered in just a minute or so each. Joyce was needed at another meeting, so I would like us to turn our attention to Dr. Iyad Abumogli, who is the Director for Faith for Earth Strategic Engagement with the faith-based organizations. He is also working from the UNEP program out of Kenya. Iyad, are you there? Perhaps if
I am
Iyad,
here. Yeah, okay.
welcome, please take it away.
Thank you. So I hope you hear me well, right? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you well.
Okay,
We
great.
can hear you, Iyad.
So thank you very much. Your Eminence, the faith leaders of Great India, thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you to the ladies and gentlemen who have been listening to the spiritual fulfillments that I have felt over the past 90 minutes or so. This is a historical moment indeed in the life of the Faith for Earth initiative of the United Nations Environment Program. Well, you are bringing to us a peaceful prophecy for the people and the planet. And you have inspired all of us. And I am sure the hundreds of people who are with us now online or watching, there are more than 500 people are watching the live streaming now. So thank you for your gracious contribution today. And I am sure this will continue. This is just the start. We are extending our hands to the faith communities and the faith leaders in India. And India is a game changer. India is a great country that has a lot of potential. And with your leadership, we are sure that we will work together on changing the behaviors of the people towards sustainable consumption. And what better than going back to the spiritual values of what we believe? This is indeed the essence of the environmental challenges that we are having and facing today, as each and every one of you has eloquently highlighted. So I would like to thank each and every one of you. I would like to thank our Goodwill Ambassador, Dia Mirza, for her beautiful moderation. I would like to thank our partners, the United Religions Initiative, of course, Reverend Victor, Sobhi, Lorraine, and I would like to thank our country office in India, led by Atul and Gayatri. And of course, I thank each and every person who has made this a successful webinar. And as I mentioned, we are extending our hands, and this will not be the last time. It will be the first time in a process of engagement towards integrating our faith values into environmental protection. Thank you very much, and God bless you all.
Thank you so much, Iyad. I would like to turn now for a closing moment with Mr. Vishwadat Chakraborty, who is the URI India National Director and Bangladesh Coordinator. Vishwadat.
Thank you. Namaste. It's been such a great joy and honor, and been so enriched that perhaps I have no more words, but I wanted to remind the moment when URI was created. A 10-year-old boy started working with some papers, creating an origami. And his explanation was that the star, he started creating a circle, and then he transformed into a star. And he explained that all the religion and the galaxy were all far. When they came too close to each other to know each other, it's formed a star. All the colors, so that's the logo of the United Religions Initiative. The religious leaders and faith leaders and the religions are coming together. And that's what the star of hope, star of action. And this is the great hope that we also would like to leave to our younger generation. And I thank you to everyone to enrich us today. On behalf of the United Religions Initiative India, I bow to all of your knowledge, all of your guidance, and hopefully we'll have more sessions and more opportunity to engage our grassroots communities to make a change. Thank you.
Thank you, Vishwadat. Before we thank those who contributed to make this evening such a smashing success, which includes all of you, we acknowledge that there were some tech glitches. Some of you were patiently waiting in waiting rooms and trying to find ways to connect. Thank you all so much. This has been an outpouring. As Iyad said, 500 people have been tuning in this evening, and we thank you all so much for your persistence and patience in this process. I would like to turn for one more closing comment from Mr. Atul Bagai, who is the head of the UN Environment Country Office. Please, Atul.
Thank you, Lauren. I am at a loss of words, actually, after such an enriching dialogue. I really, after having heard such divine and spiritual words from our faith leaders, closing this dialogue is such a humbling experience. I'm reminded of the famous words of Fritjof Capra, the scientist and the system theorist and deep ecologist. And I quote, and I think I would like to conclude by summing this up. And I quote, "In today's world, we belong to many different communities, but we share two communities to which we all belong. We are all members of humanity, and we all belong to the global biosphere." And I think this really sums up the essence of today's dialogue and today's thoughts that have come on the table. I will like to basically thank all the participants, the esteemed panelists, and I would be amiss if I do not thank my inspiration, our Deputy Executive Director, Joyce Musuya, who has given us her not only valuable time and inputs to this dialogue, but inspired us to organize this event today. I'm very thankful to Dr. Iyad, Pooja Bhimjani, and my India office colleague Gayatri for taking this initiative and lending their valuable support for this event. I am also extremely thankful to URI for partnering with us and supporting us in our strategy and actions. My special thanks to Shubhi from URI North India and Afghanistan office. She has been with us throughout a journey of connecting with FBOs, and today's event is certainly ably supported and brought forward through her efforts and through her vision. I'm also thankful to Lauren for kindly consenting to be our MC. I would also be remiss if I do not mention our UNEP Goodwill Ambassador, Diyaji. Her enthusiasm, passion, and commitment for the cause of environment is very well known. Thank you, Diyaji, for taking time to moderate this session for us today. We hope you will continue to support this journey with FBOs. And now we have launched our FBO strategy for India, and we really look forward to working with all the faith leaders and all the spiritual leaders we have with us on this panel, and also who could not join us today. Thanks a lot once again, and thank you very much.
Thank you all so much. Special thanks also to Matthew Yude for his tech support, to Subi, her team of volunteers, all of you who have worked so hard. Thank you, spiritual leaders and teachers, for sharing your time with us this evening. May peace prevail on earth, and may we truly restore creation in all of the ways we have been called to do tonight. Take good care, stay safe. God bless.
God bless you all.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so